you've been involved with the Dental Success universe for any length of time, you know that the annual summit is our Super Bowl. It's our biggest event of the year and the opportunity to be surrounded by the most positive, growth-minded, and successful dentists and dental professionals on the planet. If you've ever dreamt of owning a black belt level practice and becoming a level 10 leader, this event is for you. Imagine working side by side with a team that deeply embodies your core values in a practice that is systemized, efficient, grows month after month, has 50% overhead or below, and an EBITDA of well above 20%. Well, every person that attends the summit will get the exact playbook on how to make this vision a reality. Joining me on stage will be Dental Success Institute's best of the best, our 16 black belt coaches. Each of these coaches has removed themselves as the bottleneck in their businesses, and although they are all high-level clinicians, their practices run smoothly with or without their presence and production. To commemorate our 10th year, we selected a world-class venue, the beautiful La Cantera Resort and Spa in San Antonio, Texas, which is one of the nicest hotels I've visited in all of North America. The summit, scheduled for June 16th and 17th, 2023, has sold out 7 years straight, and this year, seating is extremely limited. The max capacity is just 650 seats. Last year, we had over 750 attendees. So register today to secure your spot to an event like no other. But make sure you register soon because the tickets and hotel room blocks are going fast. Just go to Dental Success Summit 2023 for more information or to register today. Dental Success Summit 2023. Hope to see you in San Antonio.
The Dentalpreneur Podcast. Okay, doctor, it's time to put down that handpiece. You're listening to the show dedicated to helping dentists get their lives back. It's time to decrease your stress, increase your profitability, and regain your passion. Now introducing your host, Dr. Mark Costas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dentalpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mark Costas. What's up, my friends? I hope you're doing great out there in podcast land. Hey, quick reminder, as if you guys haven't heard me talk about it enough, coming up quickly is the Dental Success Summit, the 10th annual Dental Success Summit coming June 16th and 17th in beautiful San Antonio, Texas at the La Cantera Resort. It is very, very close to being sold out, guys. So it would be great if you could go over to TrueDentalSuccess.com, click on the events tab to secure your seat. We only have 650 seats this year. Last year, we were almost to 800 attendees. So there is no doubt that we will sell out and sell out early this year. So if you guys want to come and experience the awesomeness of the Dental Success Summit, especially since it's our 10th anniversary, we have a lot of really cool things in store for you. All of the black belt coaches are going to be up on stage, sharing their wisdom. It's going to be quite amazing. So TrueDentalSuccess.com, click on the events tab, get yourself registered. All right. I'm really excited today. I have a brand new friend on with me, Dr. Noel Liu. A little bit about Dr. Noel. He's a highly skilled and compassionate general dentist and co-founder of Secure Dental that has multiple locations. With years of experience in the field, Dr. Liu has established a reputation as a trusted and knowledgeable dental professional. In addition to his dental practices, Dr. Liu also is very passionate about mentoring and guiding his associate doctors in their transition from students to clinicians. He has built a successful framework for model, mimic, and mastery flow to help them achieve their goals and efficiencies. Welcome to the podcast. Noel, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Great. So you're in Illinois, Peoria, Illinois. Right. I would love, before we even start talking about business, I'd love to hear a little bit about your backstory. How'd you get into dentistry in the first place? And how'd you end up
absolutely
into a practice owner? Yeah.
So basically with my parents, my dad was a dentist from back home, and he wanted like one of his kids to be a dentist and follow the same path that he did. We are four siblings, and I'm the only one who chose to say yes and got in the field. I graduated in New York.
Where are your parents from?
So our parents are Chinese, and I was born in Pakistan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, right. And my parents are from there. So I'm second generation. So this happened basically back in the 1940s when my parents, moved out from, not my parents, my grandparents moved out from there. And that's where they settled. So everybody kind of dispersed out of China at that time when, it was becoming communist. So that's how, like the whole dentistry started, because back there in China with my grandparents, they were like a few families there who were dentists at that time as well. So they kind of took the profession along with them. So long story short, I did my high school in Miami, finished up, and then, I was kind of wasting my time like any teenager. So my dad, he just pulled me out. He's like, all right, we're going to go back and we will get you back in dental school, because it will be a little bit faster track if you went back to Pakistan and did your dental school there, and then you come back and then you do your DDS over here. I listened to him. We went back. I just finished up school there and I came back here. It was 2002 that I came back here. And that's where I met my wife, Nazis Joffrey. She is also from back there. And so came here, we did all kind of odd jobs, security, restaurants. And from there, then I just got admitted into NYU. Now, before I got into NYU, I'd applied for at least 14 dental schools where I got rejected from almost every single school. So it wasn't an easy path, but hey, you know what? Resiliency, it's the key. So I got in 2004. I did the foreign train program, 3 years, graduated in 2007. And from there, my wife was trying to go to school, but she had the same kind of path. So she got rejected multiple times. She even told me that, hey, maybe I should think about getting the hygiene school. I was like, no, we're going to stick to dentistry. So finally she got in in around 2009. So she graduated in 2011, and I worked for a corporate for about 5 years, and that's how our career started. So in 2012, that is where we founded Secure Dental. And since then, my wife and I, we've been running the practice and trying to grow and manage, and wearing all kind of hats along the way.
Of course.
And still wearing all kind of hats along the way. And it's been a process, it's been a journey. And I think we're loving it so far.
Well, I got you beat. I love your story, but I got you beat. I was rejected 20 times and I got a single acceptance. And it took me 3 years to get into dental school. So, I probably got rejected as many times as you and your wife put together. But,
yeah.
Sometimes it's a benefit, right? It adds to your character, and it definitely solidifies your desire to go into the profession. I always tell people that, like, as an outsider looking in, just wanting to be so badly to be accepted into dental school. I truly never took my degree for granted. And a lot of people do when it's easier for them. Yeah.
You're 110% on that.
Yep. For sure.
It. I mean, that's how it is.
So you worked as an associate for 5 years, and then you founded Secure Dental. So let's work backwards. So tell us where you are with Secure Dental now. And then I would love to hear kind of, the origin story and how you were able to build it up.
So I was living in Rockford, Illinois at that time when I was working for, this company here. I was about to move to Chicago, maybe even to Philadelphia, but then, I took kind of a little bit of an easy route because I was already in Illinois, and we were like, hey, if we are down here, why don't we just try to do something here? And what we did was we moved down to Peoria, because Peoria the market was pretty good at that time. It had one of the highest GDP going on at that time because a lot of people were just influx of people in Peoria because of Caterpillar, as well as all the hospitals like Methodist and OSF. So we moved down here and we opened up our first practice. The first practice was a challenge. I was trying to get loans, and because it was 2012, we just came out of the crisis. Again, every single bank rejected, giving me even like $250,000 to open up a practice.
Wow. Really?
So it was it was a rough time. We applied, I think, like 10 banks, and everybody said no. Finally, one day there was this new dentist committee from ADA where I just went down there and I just like, what the hell? Just try it out again. there was Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo committed to lend us $300K. We were like, you know what? Even if it's $100K, we'll take it and we'll run, and we'll make it happen. So we took that 300. We went in, and little did we found out that, the place was under a Chapter 11 bankruptcy with the whole lease improvements that we were supposed to get money for. So that was another bummer for us. So I was kind of relying on some of the TI that I was going to be getting from that place. But, these guys, they had no money. They were all wrapped up in a bank, and we signed the lease. The place got, leasehold improvements, everything got done. The office opened up, and those guys, filed for bankruptcy. And little did we find out that, our whole lease was dissolved. So that was another, situation too. Like, we had to go back and fight a legal battle. So, at the end of the day, when we started with 3 ops, and I borrowed some money from my dad to open up the 3 other ops because it was plumbed for 6.
Okay.
So we got 6 equipped. And once when my wife moved over after graduation, we just took it and we just ramped it up. From that time, we started doing 1 office a year. We just kind of made it into a little model that we were having, because the place that I used to work for, those guys kind of helped me out. And we already had this vision that we wanted to create a multi-practice organization. But everybody else who's venturing out in this field, there's a lot of ups and downs. You know that, right? I mean, you're wearing all the hats, and it's like, we get so bogged down with this whole idea about opening up more locations that we forget the whole operation side. Yeah. And then, it came to a point where we were not able to handle even 5 locations. So getting associates, getting team members, getting them to align, getting them to, basically there was no coherence between the team members, and we were just falling apart at that time.
Were these de novos, or were you acquiring existing practices?
Oh, we were doing all de novos.
All de novos. Okay.
Yeah, all de novos.
So, you're doing the de novo model. I think, it is very romantic, right? To say, I want to be a multiple practice owner. And then, if you're anything like me, in my first 7 years, I built 6 practices, but I didn't have an overarching plan at the time. So I was the bottleneck in the business. I was doing everything. I was the office manager for 6 practices at basically one time. And, I feel you, but, at that particular time, and I've since, adjusted my, I've become more wise. Let's just say that, it's not about the number. It's not about the number of practices. It's not about, for me, it was always, I want to get to 10. I want to get to 10. And I got to 6, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is really, really hard. I need 4 more. But you have to look at the strength of the organization. Are you profitable? Are you losing money? Are you bleeding cash here or there? Where is the, the systemization in the dental practice? Yeah. What's the leadership team look like? Right. And it feels like that's where you were at with 5.
And you know what, Mark, the problem with us was I was hardly even looking at the financial statements, right? I had no idea what a P&L looks like, what even a P&L is. I had no idea what a balance sheet was. All I knew was, hey, you know what? Let's take it to a CPA guy, and he's going to worry about it. Yeah. And, going blindly in a lot of things. Now, when I look back, it just kind of gives me goosebumps. Like, how were we operating at that time?
Blind faith.
Right. But, it wasn't exactly, but it was a learning curve. And, if you tell us to do that again, no, it's not going to happen. But, it's more about, I think it kind of carved us and carved, to a point where, like you said, we become a little bit more wise, in our decision making and seeing, projecting what's going to happen. Little did we have any idea about what to do, where to open up. I mean, none of that stuff. I mean, it just kind of drove by. It felt good. Let's mark this location and let's try to open up a location here. Wow. And that's how we operated. Yeah.
Yeah. So, at that point, what was the turning point from, holy cow, I'm having a really hard time managing these 5 existing practices? When did you start to decide that you needed to do things differently? And what did that look like? That process look like?
That was a bad turning point. Let's put it this way. It was 2018, end of 18 and beginning of 19, where we opened up 3 more de novos. Okay. So we have 3 more de novos coming up.
Was that 8 then?
Yeah. So that was the 8 and the 9 coming up, right? So 7, 8, 9, sorry.
Okay.
So we had 3 more de novos coming up, and I was pretty confident that our associate doctors are going to be hanging around for a little bit. So at the same exact year, we had 4 doctors quit on us. So when that happened, that really brought us down to our knees to a point that, okay, fine. We got 4 that's coming up. Now we got to staff the other 4 that are leaving right now.
Oh, man.
So because again, it was lack of leadership, lack of systems, lack of, core values, lack of any kind of stuff that any organization would have. Mm-hmm. So that was our turning point. And somehow, some way we figured it out and we just rode through the storm. I myself was working, I think 7 days a week, including Sundays, handling every single location where we were short on staff and doctors.
Yeah.
So kind of wearing all the hats. Good thing we had a manager. So the managers was very supportive of us. But again, it's no good if you don't have no production coming in. And I can only stretch so much. Can't be like, every single place, every single day. So my wife also put on a scrubs and, both husband and wife team, we just went out, all out.
Wow. Yeah. It's worth stating. I just spoke at Midwestern Dental School. I don't speak at schools that much anymore, but it's right down the street from me. And I got to know a lot of the students there, and the business club hosted me. Nice. It was a really good turnout. There's like 100 students there, which is pretty good. And somebody asked me specifically about, hey, look, I want to make sure that my first practice cash flows, but I wanted to build multiple practices. So I've selected this particular location based on the demographics, and it's got strong demographics, but it's relatively rural, right? So, what do you think? And I want to build multiple practices in this area because it's favorable demographics. And I'm like, it's a great idea. And I kind of ran with that idea myself. I found this area of Arizona that was underserved, relatively rural. And I started putting my practices in these underserved areas. And it's great for cash flow, but very, very difficult to recruit people to that area. Right. So you have to think of things on a grander scale, right? So yes, cash flow is going to be great. I can work this thing by myself for the rest of my career and have a great cash flow situation. But if I want to build multiple practices, I'm going to have to go somewhere else and then somewhere else and then staff these things with multiple doctors in order to make them, a viable practice. Very, very difficult to do. As you know, Noel, it's like finding the right people and associates is probably the hardest element of this whole multiple practice game.
It is. And which is why, I feel like we have 2 sets of customers. One is our patients for sure. And then the other one is our doctors. For sure. And, I treat doctors as one of our customers as well, because if you're not taking care of them, you're not getting the right way. I mean, you're not getting the right candidates. Pretty much your bread and butter it's done.
Yeah. For sure. So what is your method?
That was a turning point.
Your method for developing these rookie docs into great clinicians and keeping them? How do you do it?
Oh, great question. One thing, my whole philosophy and our whole thing is, getting these guys out of dental school, getting them young while they're still fresh, and making sure they have the right path that what they want to embark to. So basically working with the goals and trying to make it fit with our goals. And I feel like at this point in time, the leadership skill should be at the top of the list right there. Number 1. And number 2 is I like to sit down and work with them because I call it the 80-20 rule. 80% is all about mindset and 80% is all about like what they feel and how they act. And 20% is strategy. And a lot of places, if like us dentists, including me back in the days, we always focus on the 20%. Like how do you do this root canal? How do you do everything technical? But nobody's actually worrying about the 80% where is the mind at? So that is where I like to sit down with these guys and work on that aspect, which has kind of given me tremendous success.
This episode is being brought to you by Large Practice Sales. Large Practice Sales helps doctors of all ages and specialties monetize a part of their practice with a silent partner. How does it work? National groups purchase between 51% to 90% of a practice for cash up front, and the doctor remains an owner leading their practice under their brand, team, and strategy. Doctors benefit from the resources of a larger partner to grow bigger, faster, and more profitably. Contact Large Practice Sales, or LPS, today to confidentially discover your practice's value in an IDSO partnership at no cost without obligation. Just call 844-976-5332. That's 844-976-5332. Or visit largepracticesales.com/dentalpreneur. Amazing. Do you have a method for training them clinically? So if you are recruiting brand new grads,
Sure.
what is the process for getting them faster and more proficient and making sure that there's quality control there?
Quality control it's an issue still, and that is still like we're working on. There's a lot of tweaks there. As far as onboarding is concerned, definitely we get them started with programs, with books, with a lot of reading materials, and basically working on that 80% that we have for these guys. What do I like to work on is, number one, it's what's their 1-year goal, what's their 5-year goal, and what's their 10-year goal. And most of the guys, they're coming out, they want to be a practice owner. They want to open up their own house down the road, which is absolutely fine. And that is the kind of stuff I like to take and encourage them. And I tell them straight up since day one that this is not a place where you're going to be retiring. If that is what you want, we're going to make sure we propel you from day one. Mm-hmm. And once we get their goals, which is personal goals, their professional goals, and their financial goals, then we take that and then we stick it into like what they are trying to do and what we are trying to do. So we just basically we just align them with us at that point with their personal, professional, financial goals. And when that's aligned, they kind of tend to work a lot better because you got to find what's ticking for them. For somebody, it might be like getting more CE courses. Somebody might be like placing more implants. For someone, it may be financial. And, so someone go like, hey, I want to learn the business aspect of dentistry. So whatever it is, let's sit down, let's work on it. And this is what's going to take for you to get from point A to point B. And that's been working out so far pretty good for us.
Got it. What is the footprint of Secure Dental now? How many practices do you guys have?
So we were at 13. Now we are back down to 11. We shut down 2 because one of them was like really close to 2 of the other locations. So it didn't make sense to have 3 locations over there.
So you merged them, basically.
And one of them was kind of merged them. Yeah. And then one of them was in Peoria. We had 2 locations. So we just merged to 1.
Got it.
A little bit more efficient.
Got it. So 11 locations. You talked a little bit about how hard it was to get that first loan. I bumped into a ceiling after my 3rd practice as far as trying to get from traditional lending institutions. How have you been able to continue to scale to the point where you are?
Great question. And like anybody else, is plug and play, right? So when I call it plug and play, it's like you go to different banks. It's like you're going to different institutions every single time we're opening. Mm-hmm. And now it's come to a point where it's like, it's not making any sense. Mm-hmm. And, like bank number 1 bank number 1, the ceiling was reached. So we had to go to bank number 2, bank number 3. And this way we just kept growing with different institutions. Mm-hmm. But now we are looking into thinking of consolidating everything into one and just basically having like a ceiling that is going to be like, as we grow, we continue with bank debts. But, we haven't decided at which direction we're going to go, like still. Are we going to go the private equity route? Are we going to go the, merging with a larger DSO route? Are we just going to continue? It's all up in the air right now. But I know for a fact that, this is a problem. This has been a problem for us every single time trying to get funding. Yeah.
It's a big decision, right? There's no shortage of private equity companies that'll come in and say, hey, I'll partner with you and We'll buy the majority of your business. We'll help you with infrastructure, and we'll give you money for all subsequent locations. But there's a cost to that, right? You're giving up you're giving up 100% of the control. A lot of times, if you don't select the right private equity company, they could be difficult to work with. I've heard lots of stories about that. But it is tempting. It is tempting. These private equity companies with deep pockets can solve a lot of the woes of the slow growth, that the debt structure or the debt, strategy comes along with.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, because these guys are very well aware of it, and they know like you will hit a debt ceiling or you will hit some sort of a ceiling. And that's where these guys start coming in and approaching at that time. So I feel like, it's like, as long as your EBITDA is making sense, the P&L is making sense, I think you can still continue growing. But again, for how long, we don't know. And how fast, right?
Yep.
So it all depends on the goal.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there. Do you want to continue with the de novo model? Is that your area of specialty?
Yes and no, in a sense that we did have like 4 acquisitions also in the past, but out of the 4, one of them was successful. 3 of them did not really work very well, where it was just kind of like, we just ended up with an empty shell, basically. So, the patients, they wanted the same old doc. The staff, the team left after a year. So it was a little transition there. So I still feel that, de novo is the way for us, but I'm keeping my options open.
If you, I'm gonna turn the tables on you a little bit and ask you the same questions that you ask your associates, right? So where do you see Secure Dental in 1, 3, 5 years? What's your ultimate goal?
So my ultimate goal. So 1 year, I'm really, really working to clean up all our books, all our finances. So which is why we got it with a team there. So trying to see if we can do that and clean up everything that we got. In 5 years, I think I still want to continue growing, not necessarily location wise, but the revenue size.
Yeah.
For sure. That is my main target, whether it be it in the 11 locations we got or whether we add 10 more. And then of course, in 10 years time would be our exit strategy at that time. But you and I, we both know by the time you want to get out in 10 years, you got to start planning today, right? So
yeah, of course.
So I don't really know the 10-year plan yet. Honestly, I mean, it's still up in the air.
Are you the sole owner? You and your wife, the sole owner of all the Secure Dental? Okay, awesome.
That's right.
All right. So I love this discussion just because you and I have so many similarities. We're both, sons of immigrants, and we're both. We both had this dream to have multiple practices, but didn't really know what we were doing. Made a ton of mistakes in the beginning. So I want to ask you, what advice would you give to your younger self if you could go back and say, hey, don't do this, do it this way? What advice would you give to yourself to avoid some of the pain that you've gone through?
One of the things I've noticed that changed my life was focusing on what I really want and stop focusing on things that I don't have, because that is the thing that I kept doing again and again. It was just like a little spiral effect. And one thing I would definitely tell myself is to invest in yourself first and become a better person, become like, personal development side, make sure like, what you're getting into mentally. Because that is the most important thing that really helped me out. Because everything else that we have around us is just a radiation of us, right? So when we start focusing on a lot of problems, that is exactly what we get more back of. And if I were to tell myself to do something, just invest in yourself and get better and just laser focus on one thing and just go after it.
Yeah. When you say that you want to clean up the books in the next year, is that still a remnant of the haphazard growth strategy in the beginning?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's funny because now it's like we come to a point where the revenue is climbing, but we still have so much back like stuff that we need to clean up. It's
baggage.
It just hounds us. Right. It's just excess baggage going on.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm guessing that the newer practices everything's gotten a little bit cleaner and cleaner and cleaner as you've gone along. So some of the baggage from the past, you just have to, you desire to clean that up right now.
Right. And when you ask me about the de novos, right, all my de novos are like doing excellent. All the acquisitions are down. Mm-hmm. And which is why, like, when we had those 3 de novos, like back in 2019, those are the ones that's really matured at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever feel as though your star practices make up for some of the dogs in your group?
Every time. Every time.
you have 1, 2, or 3 really good producers, and they make up for the sins of 1, 2, or 3
Precisely.
of the ones that are underperforming.
I mean, those guys have been underperforming since day one. Now it's like, what do I do with them? Do I want to keep them? Do I want to not keep them? But then they're in a location where they're like right in the heart of Chicago. So I'm like, okay, let's just keep them for a while, and we'll see how long they want to tag along, or they will be able to tag along for a while. Yeah. But I haven't given up on them yet.
What is the model? Is there a certain number of operatories that you like to see, a certain number of providers, certain number of hygienists per location, or does it vary depending on the location?
So I'll start with the hygienist first.
Okay.
Our hygienists, we got rid of them after 2020. After that, we haven't had one. We just have one right now who's stuck with us for a while. So we're starting to.
Oh, interesting.
No hygienist. Right, okay. Right. So now we've started to model around that one hygienist that we have and starting to get back the traction again. So that's where we are with the hygienist. And as far as the ops that I like, anywhere from 6 to 8 ops. That's like my sweet spot.
Okay. And multiple providers, dental providers, or
minimum 2.
Is it okay to have one? Okay. Yeah.
I would like to have 2 providers and at least 2 assistants.
When you tell that story of losing 4 providers at once, one year I lost 3 providers, and all 3 of those providers were single providers in those offices. So that is an emergency situation when you lose a single provider in an office. You got to scramble very, very quickly. And that's when owner doc and owner doctor's wife ends up going to plug the holes. And that does not make for, a fun experience when you're trying to run this entire company, right? That's happened to me a number of times. And that is because we didn't have multiple providers in the practices. But
isn't it such a heart sinking, like feeling when that happens?
It's the worst feeling ever. It's like, okay, here we go. I got to strap on my big boy pants again. And I got to go into
let's roll
into the trenches. Let's go. It's a difficult situation to work yourself through. So, how are you feeling now with, associates? Are you always on the lookout for good quality people?
Always. It's for us now, our thing is, never stop hiring. And the way we like to do it is provide more value to these guys, because at the end of the day, they're looking for something. And if we can provide that something to them, I think that is where we click with these guys. And most of our doctors are all internal referrals now. So that has been a huge, huge plus. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. What's the compensation structure look like for your docs? Do you pay them on a percentage of collections, production, salary? How does it work?
Yeah. So it's adjusted production, and basically they get about 30% of the adjusted, and they have a little tier system. So as the production goes up, then it goes like 32 and 34.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they have a base. A base is at 600, 650, depending on the location. Mm-hmm. And of course, with that comes a lot of other perks. So this is just a base compensation that we have. Then the other perks are like, depending on where the production is, how much are they like, smashing on the results. Then we also pay for like their vehicles, stuff like any of the CA courses that they want in the 5 digits, that's covered for them. And we definitely want to get them trained with all sorts of like implants. So we've partnered with Neodent company guys. Mm-hmm. So these guys come in and they partner and they get all the education component done. We train them to place implants. And then of course, once you start doing these kind of procedures, the production just skyrockets. So these guys are well taken care of for sure. But at the end of the day, what these guys appreciate is that, I'm there in the trenches with them and also like working out with these guys. Then the question becomes is, how long can I do this? Well, that is still up in the air.
So you're still wet figure dentists. You're in the trenches still doing history.
I'm still in the trenches.
Yeah. Gotcha. I get this question a lot. What do you have a mechanism in place? Because it sounds like you're very generous with your continuing education budget to develop these dentists. So do you have a mechanism in place? Say you spend, for round numbers, say you spend $10,000 to send them to a continuing education course for advanced surgery.
Sure.
What's the mechanism to make sure that you get ROI on that? And is there something that is going to tie into retention if you're going to be spending that kind of or utilizing that kind of money and investing in them to that level?
It's kind of difficult to answer because there's no exact way to measure this here. The ROI is pretty much depending on the case, closing, metrics. So what's the KPI over there on that side? Like if they are presenting like, let's say 10 cases or 10 of these implants, how many of them are they closing? And of course, at what dollar value? Retention wise, I'm not really sure because, our docs have been here with us. The longest one is about 6-7 years. And on an average, they hang around for like 3 to 4 years. So where do we stand like in terms of industry standards? I think it's probably average, I would say, until I have some sort of a built-in, like an ownership kind of structure down the road for them. But these guys, they like to learn. It's in a process.
Okay.
It's in a process. So we are working on that as well.
We have a similar, in my group, we had a similar philosophy with larger continuing education. I would pay for it, but, we would have, a minimum number of cases that we would expect from them, following that, that education. And additionally, we would use it as a retention model. Say, for instance, there's, a $10,000 implant course. We would have them sign a contract that says, we will pay for this. We'll pay down this $10,000 every single month for 12 months. But in order to break that, payment into 12 equal payments, then you have to do 3 cases every single month. And then we will pay, towards this $10,000 IOU. We'd remove $1,200. And if they decided to leave us any time before that, then they would have to pay the remainder of that CE back to us on their last day. So we use it as a retention method, and it ensures that they do a certain number of cases every single month. So that's how we did it in my group. Yeah. Works pretty well.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Yeah.
I'm willing to spend, $25 grand if somebody's going to produce an additional $150,000 in 12 months. That's just a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. I love that idea.
Yeah. So, well, Noel, it's been really great to get to know you. I would love to do a follow-up and see how you do in this next upcoming 12 months. It sounds like things are going really, really well. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to meet a new friend that's going after it.
And also kind of share the same similarities, right, in the past.
Yeah, for sure. So,
I would love to attend your summit for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Let me know. You just let me know and I'll make it happen.
Okay.
If you could, it would be great if you could share some information about Secure Dental. If there's any students out there or young dentists that are interested and they like that area, it'd be great if they could reach out to you.
Absolutely. I'm pretty open about my cell phone. So, area code 815-670-2923. First name Noel, Noel. Last name is Liu, Liu. And of course, you can visit us at secure-dental.com and also securedentalgroup.com. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, Dr. Noel Liu at whatever, IG.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Doc. Really appreciate your time today, my friend. It's good to get to know you and continue to kill it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Noel Liu. Hey, Doc, are you overwhelmed, sick of being the bottleneck, not sure where to jump in and tackle projects? The idea of having an assistant may seem like a luxury and something you don't need. However, as practicing clinicians, business owners, husbands, wives, moms, and dads, you may be holding yourself, your business, and even your family back by not delegating day-to-day tasks and maximizing your valuable time. If you guys have heard our podcast and webinars before, you know I hired a personal assistant 8 years ago and haven't looked back. I hired Ashley Evans at the time, now Ashley Hirschfeld, and we were able to execute, prioritize, and launch projects and businesses that have led to multiple streams of income and invaluable peace of mind. Ashley has now founded GSD Queen, where she is helping busy entrepreneurs and business owners find the right personal, virtual, or executive assistant to help you get the momentum you need to reach your goals. With Ashley's assistant program, you get one-on-one consultation with her to create your perfect personal or executive assistant avatar and ad. Execution of placing ads. Review of resumes. Skill and personality testing to narrow down to 2 to 3 candidates. Guidance in maximizing in-person reviews. After selection and hire, the assistant will receive 4 weeks of GSD Queen Bootcamp, where they will learn the tips and tricks to being an efficient and forward-thinking assistant. Reach out to Ashley directly at 928-910-3599 for more details and more information. If you happen to be a DSN member, reach out to Ashley inside Workplace to get a $250 discount. 928-910-3599. Reach out to Ashley and get ready for a life-changing experience. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dentalpreneur Podcast. Look forward to reconnecting on the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Dentalpreneur Podcast. Check out TrueDentalSuccess.com for full recaps of every show, a schedule of our live events, free video tutorials, and a whole host of practice-building resources.